Imagine a world where entire cities burn through the night, where millions march under symbols of hatred, where a single invasion ignites a firestorm that consumes every continent on Earth. Imagine living in a time when the future of civilization itself hangs by a thread. This was the reality of World War II, the deadliest and most transformative conflict in human history. Over 70 million people would die. Empires would collapse, new superpowers would rise, and humanity would be forced to confront both its darkest cruelty and its greatest courage. This is the complete story of World War II. How it began, how it was fought, and how it reshaped the modern world forever. The origins of World War II lie in the unresolved tensions of World War I. In 1919, the Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh penalties on Germany. The country lost territory, its military was severely restricted, and it was forced to accept full blame for the war. Crushing reparations devastated the German economy. Hyperinflation in the 1920s wiped out savings. By the early 1930s, the Great Depression pushed unemployment to staggering levels. Democracy in Germany weakened, and extremist movements gained support. Into this instability stepped Adolf Hitler. Appointed chancellor in 1933, Hitler quickly dismantled democratic institutions and established a totalitarian regime. His ideology centered on extreme nationalism, racial supremacy, anti-Semitism, and expansionism. He promised to restore German pride and overturn the Treaty of Versailles. Germany rearmed in defiance of international agreements. The League of Nations proved powerless. Elsewhere, similar forces were rising. In Italy, Benito Mussolini promoted fascism and imperial expansion. In Asia, Japan sought dominance, expanding aggressively into China beginning in 1937. These powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan, formed the Axis alliance. Western democracies pursued appeasement. In 1938, Germany annexed Austria. Later that year, Britain and France allowed Hitler to take the Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia at the Munich Agreement, hoping to avoid war. Instead, it emboldened him. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland using blitzkrieg tactics, rapid coordinated assaults, combining tanks, aircraft, and infantry. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war. World War II had begun. In 1940, German forces swept across Western Europe. Denmark and Norway fell. Belgium and the Netherlands collapsed. France, despite its strong military, was defeated in just 6 weeks. Paris was occupied. Britain stood alone. The Battle of Britain followed. Under Prime Minister Winston Churchill, Britain refused to surrender. The German Luftwaffe bombed cities in a campaign known as the Blitz. Yet the Royal Air Force held firm. Germany failed to achieve air superiority, halting plans for invasion. In June 1941, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union despite a previous non-aggression pact. It became the largest land invasion in history. Early German advances were devastating, but the vast territory and brutal winter slowed them. Soviet forces, under Joseph Stalin, mobilized immense resources. The Battle of Stalingrad in 1942-43 marked a turning point. After months of brutal urban combat, the German Sixth Army surrendered. From that point on, Germany was pushed steadily westward. Meanwhile, war in North Africa saw British and Axis forces clash over control of the Suez Canal and Middle Eastern oil. The Battle of El Alamein in 1942 halted Axis expansion in Africa. Soon after, Allied forces invaded Italy in 1943. Mussolini was overthrown, though fighting continued there until 1945. Across the Atlantic, the United States had initially remained neutral, but tensions with Japan escalated due to sanctions and Japan's expansion in Asia. On December 7, 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, crippling much of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The following day, the United States declared war. Germany and Italy declared war on the US, transforming the conflict into a fully global war. In the Pacific, battles were fierce and often brutal. The Battle of Midway in 1942 shifted naval power in favor of the United States. American forces then pursued an island-hopping strategy, capturing strategic islands while bypassing others. Battles like Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa resulted in heavy casualties on both sides. Back in Europe, the Western Allies prepared for a massive invasion. On June 6, 1944, D-Day, Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy in Operation Overlord. It was the largest amphibious invasion in history. Despite heavy resistance, a foothold was secured. Paris was liberated in August 1944. Germany, now fighting on multiple fronts, began to collapse. In December 1944, Hitler launched one final counteroffensive, the Battle of the Bulge, but it failed. Soviet forces advanced from the east, Western Allies from the west. Berlin was encircled. On April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler committed suicide in his bunker. Germany surrendered on May 7, 1945. Victory in Europe Day was celebrated on May 8th. Yet the war in the Pacific continued. Japan showed no signs of surrender despite devastating bombings. The United States faced the prospect of invading Japan, which could cost hundreds of thousands of lives. Instead, President Harry S. Truman authorized the use of atomic weapons developed under the Manhattan Project. On August 6, 1945, Hiroshima was bombed. On August 9th, Nagasaki followed. Japan announced its surrender on August 15, 1945. The war was over. One of the most horrifying aspects of World War II was the Holocaust. Nazi Germany systematically murdered 6 million Jews, along with millions of others including Romani people, disabled individuals, and political prisoners. Extermination camps such as Auschwitz became centers of industrialized genocide. The scale of cruelty shocked the world when camps were liberated. The human cost of the war was staggering. Between 70 and 85 million people died, soldiers and civilians alike. Entire cities were reduced to rubble. Economies were shattered. Families were torn apart. After the war, the global balance of power shifted dramatically. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, setting the stage for the Cold War. Germany was divided into East and West. Japan was occupied and rebuilt. In 1945, the United Nations was formed in hopes of preventing future global conflicts. World War II accelerated technological development. Radar, rockets, jet engines, and nuclear power. It also sparked movements for decolonization across Asia and Africa. The horrors of genocide led to the development of international human rights law. World War II was a total war, fought not only on battlefields but in factories, laboratories, and homes. Civilians endured rationing, bombings, propaganda, and displacement. Women entered industrial workforces in unprecedented numbers. Resistance movements operated behind enemy lines. Intelligence and code breaking, including efforts like breaking the German Enigma code, played crucial roles. The war demonstrated humanity's capacity for destruction, but also for resilience. Cities were rebuilt, nations reconciled, former enemies became allies, and yet the lessons remain urgent. The rise of extremism, the dangers of unchecked power, and the consequences of global conflict continue to echo in our world today. World War II was not just a chapter in history, it was the event that defined the modern age. If you made it this far, you've just traveled through one of the most powerful and devastating periods in human history. World War II reshaped borders, ideologies, technology, and the global balance of power. Its impact is still felt in international politics, military strategy, and human rights law today. If you found this deep dive valuable, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next in-depth historical breakdown. Comment below. Which moment of World War II do you think changed the course of history the most? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.